Thank you very much, Katrine. That was a great speech, and what I liked the most about it is that you actually had letters and information from your constituents that you were able to relay. That shows that your letters do get read. I realize a lot of us have received form letters back. Some people probably question whether their letter writing effort is even making a difference. I think it is, and that it was echoed in what we just heard. So thank you very much for being a leader and helping us on this. Mr. John Horgan.
He's the head of the BC Liberal or BC NDP party. We need to write letters
Sean,
now.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you. Thanks for coming to where I work. For those of you who had to take the day off today to send a message to your government, I apologize on their behalf. I apologize for a government that stopped listening to you about 20 seconds after the polls closed 2 years ago. I apologize for a government that doesn't understand that common resources belong to all of us. This property, common resource property, belongs to all of us. I live west of here in a place called Wanda Fuca. And my constituents look just like you. My constituents like to fish. My constituents like to hunt. They like to get on a motorbike every now and again and go into the woods that they thought belonged to them. And year after year, this government closes those forests. Year after year, there are more gates on roads that used to be accessible by you. And pursuing your recreation in your province. I want to say that this is a bit about politics, isn't it? I would be avoiding the obvious if I didn't make the comment that I have virtually all of my caucus standing here, whether they come from Vancouver Island, downtown Vancouver, the Kootenays, the North Coast, and Carol James, who represents where we are right now. And Carol's too shy to tell you about her moose hunting experiences in the Burns Lake area, but if you want to pull her aside, she's got some pretty good pictures of her packing moose out of the bush. I don't know if I've seen the Premier do that, but I know I've got photographic evidence of Carol James doing it. So when someone tells you New Democrats don't hunt, say, well, their women do. Katrina Conroy does, and so does Carol James. Hunters are voters. I'm seeing that as a common theme on the signs. I'm seeing that in my inbox. I saw that with 500 people in my community just a few weeks ago. And I had to say, and I did say that evening, that 500 was a good number, but if we were talking halibut, it would have been 1,000. So I understand from where I live and the people that sent me here to represent them, I understand what it's like to have generations of hunters and fishers, an opportunity to spend time with your children and your grandchildren and pass on in an oral tradition what it was like back in the day when our forests were tall, when there were more freedoms than there are today. And I know what it's like to look at your son or your daughter and say, you know, it used to be that British Columbia belonged to British Columbia. And you know, the resources belong to us as well. But there's a trend emerging. It's not just with wildlife allocation. You might have heard that there's a big company called Nestle that pays pennies for water and sells it for dollars. The water belongs, you've got it, it belongs to us. Until the BC Liberals sign an administrative form, and then all of a sudden, it belongs to a multinational corporation. Our logs used to fill mills on this coast and in the interior where you and your families used to work. Those logs now belong to the highest bidder, and the highest bidders are somewhere else. They're not in British Columbia anymore. And when it comes to wildlife allocations, we've turned a corner again. We asked the minister, Mr. Thompson, why it was that there were special rules for resident hunters and then another game for non-resident hunters, and he said we just didn't understand. We just didn't understand. He was speaking to me when he said that, but he was speaking to all of you. He was saying the minister responsible and his sidekick, the guy from Kootenay East, Mr. Bennett, they were saying we don't really give a damn because apparently Mr. Bennett's not running anymore And if you live in Kelowna and you're a Liberal, you're going to get elected for the end of time. Well, is anyone here from Kelowna? Yes, you are. And what are you going to say to Mr. Thompson when you get back to Kelowna this weekend? See you in 17. I like the sounds of that. I like the sounds of that.
It's the next voting year.
We need to go into this legislature today, my colleagues and I, Andrew from the Green Party, and we're going to be sending a message to the BC Liberal Party. You can't ignore any longer the desire, the yearning for the people of British Columbia to have their province back. I went to Tumbler Ridge. I've been the leader of the NDP for almost a year now. I went to Tumbler Ridge when the first mine closed and the steel workers were driving out of town. And I went back when the second mine closed in June and more operating engineers were leaving town. And as hard as this is to believe, the only people mining in Tumbler Ridge right now are temporary foreign workers. So we're not even getting jobs off the land base anymore. They're going to someone else as well. Enough is enough. The time to stand strong is today. From this point on, ladies and gentlemen, do not let a Liberal sell you a bill of goods. Ask them the tough questions, and if they don't give you the right answers, go shopping in the marketplace of ideas for a political party that will support your point of view, that will support the people of British Columbia, and will say to you that BC resources belong to British Columbians first and foremost. Water, logs, jobs, and wildlife. Nobody knows the wilderness quite like the people who live in it and the people who recreate on it. And you're represented right here today, and I'm so proud to see you all. I know that you've come from a great distance. I know that we've got a sprinkling of Vancouver Islanders here. Bless you all. I was born and raised here, and I used to think, and I told my kids, that Vancouver Island and British Columbia belonged to them, and they were the luckiest people on the planet. And we are blessed to have an abundance of natural resources, a diversity of species that's almost unparalleled. The problem we've got now is a government that doesn't give a damn. We've got a government that would prefer to take a check and then check out on you. Enough is enough, ladies and gentlemen. Stand strong today, stand strong from this point forward, and let's make sure that we're allocating the resources of British Columbians. They go to British Columbians first. Non-resident hunters are welcome to come here and get in line, just like the rest of you have been doing year after year after year, hoping for that tag, but not resenting those who got them because you knew it was your neighbor and they were going to be on the land, making it better than it was when they got there. That's what you've always done. That's what we'll always do. Residents first. Thanks for coming out.